Welcome back to the program. And now to some of our stories in brief. We begin with the National Assembly petition tribunals. They've been busy throughout the country. Some elected lawmakers are retaining their seat, while some have lost them. Prominent on the list of those who may have to fight to retain their seat in the Assembly is the Senate Chief Whip, Orjus Okalu, as he is removed as the senator representing Abia North. Similar judgments were reported in other parts of the country. Elsewhere, in Anambra, the State Election Petition Tribunal has upheld the victory of Senator Uche Kunife and Ifeanyi Ubah as senators representing Anambra Central and South Senatorial Districts, respectively. Senator Victor Ome of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, had dragged Senator Kunife to the tribunal, contesting that he was not duly nominated by her party, the PDP, and that the election was marred by violence and irregularities. Also, Senator Andy Ubah of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and Mr. Chris Ubah of the People's Democratic Party had challenged the declaration by INEC of Senator Ifeanyi Ubah of the YPP as winner of the Anambra South senatorial election. The petitioners prayed the tribunal to set aside the declaration of the body. But delivering the judgment, the justice read the tribunal's verdict, saying that the issue of the candidacy of Ikunife was a pre-election matter and does not fall within the jurisdiction of the tribunal. The tribunal petition filed against Mr. Ifeanyi Ubah by Chris Ubah dismissed all the 19 witnesses brought by the petitioner, observing that the testimonies of the witnesses, because the prosecution witness who relied on the card reader, could not prove the allegations leveled against the respondent. Well, still watching Lunchtime Politics, and we have been talking about with our guests in Abuja on the issue of the attacks on foreign nationals. We were earlier talking to the Chairman, Senate Committee on Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations, Senator Ajibola Bashir, and also Mr. Lagi Innocent, a legal practitioner who we hear has left the studio in Abuja. But we'd like to thank you, Senator Bashir, for your patience. I'd like to quote what the International Relations Minister in South Africa recently said, Naledi Pandor. She tried to offer some explanation for the criminal acts, and she suggested that South Africa's progressive laws on migration had been abused. And she also indicated that apartheid had a crucial role to play in all of this.
With respect to the position of the South African official talking about a breach of rule of immigration being breached, I think it's unfortunate that a public official of a country like South Africa will make public that kind of statement. If there has been a breach of law of South Africa, there are rules, there are procedures under the law of South Africa by which anybody who has violated their law should be punished. It is not by rabble-rousers orchestrated violence by some armed group will be a basis for enforcement of the law. I think it's unfortunate that people at the high level of government in South Africa could have said so. What we know on good authority is that South African government has its own problem in enforcement of law in certain parts of the country, and that all those kind of statements are just manifestations of excuses about that. I must say here with all sense of responsibility that conduct of international diplomacy takes half a major responsibility, puts it on every government to ensure that we are responsible and we look at the larger interest of our society in taking any decision. Some individuals who are also not well informed were talking about South African businesses in Nigeria and Nigerian interest in South Africa. The truth is that many of the businesses being paraded as South African businesses are mere franchises that is owned by Nigeria, and that Nigerians have actually invested in those businesses. So taking any action as been stipulated by people who are not well informed will actually hurt Nigeria more. And as a government, we must be responsible. We must be able to take decisions based on facts and not sentiment. What makes political leadership is not to act on pure emotions, but to look at facts, look at what are the options available. And as has been said by the Minister for Foreign Affairs, all options are on the table in ensuring that we be able to address this problem of xenophobia for for the last time as we have it. And as you know,
Senator
it's
Bashir,
not only affecting Nigerians, it's also affecting some other African countries.
nationals.
If the argument will be that all African countries should start fighting, it's a war against South Africa on this account, what will be the state of security within the African continent?
I'd like to believe that our last guest meant war figuratively and not literally as a legal practitioner that he is. But looking at the quick facts of, what we showed just now, Nigerians in South Africa, it's really alarming. Serap is asking that the African Court on Human and People's Rights seek effective remedy and reparation for Nigerian victims. I mean, I hear that compensation is on the plate, but what moves are the South African government making to some of the requests our government has asked?
At the briefing by the Minister for Foreign Affairs, we were informed that Nigeria has instructed its representative in the AU to file a formal complaint and a communication on the issue at the African Union with a view to ventilate the legal rights of Nigerians that have been affected. That is a legal process that has been considered and is already being examined. Then on the issue of compensation, of course, the argument that Nigeria is putting forth for compensation is that it is a failure of responsibility, failure to protect and to act according to the requirement of international law protecting citizens and foreigners in their country, lies at the basis of the claim for compensation. Beyond the compensation, we must also look at certain facts that are hidden. Presently, about 8 security operatives of South Africa are currently on trial. About 4 were also arrested in connection with the murder of a Nigerian businessman some weeks ago. Then a high-level investigation inquiry being headed by Brigadier General has also been set up in South Africa to look at the murder of a Nigerian that traveled, a Nigerian woman that traveled, I think Mrs. Chuku, that traveled to South Africa for a conference. So it is not only for us to look at the negative aspects, but to look at some other aspects that are also being done. For the first time, the South African authority had cause to arrest and put to trial some of their law enforcement agents found wanting in terms of being able to protect the life of other people, foreigners in their community.
We'd like to thank you. Thank you so much for your patience. The Chairman, Senate Committee on Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations, Senator Jibola Bashir, thank you for hanging on for us.
You are welcome, please.
Well, let's get back to our earlier discussion about the presentation today of the medium-term expenditure framework at the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, and that's the 2020-2022 MTEF. We're trying to establish connection with Dr. Boniface. I believe we have him, Chizie. Dr. Boniface, I hope you can hear me right now. And the question is, what are your expectations, especially for the budget cycle? Do you see the 2020 budget changing composition of perhaps spending to stimulate economic growth?
Well, I would say that, the fact that you have a budget means that you're looking for direction. When you don't have a budget, then there's no direction, so you don't know where you're going. So if you have the medium-term expenditure program, which should have been presented by the 31st of August, it's been presented now, and it's been presented to the public. So that means we are doing the right thing. We're trying to have consultations. And so to the extent that you have inclusiveness, I would expect that then we have a program. Having a program on ground is something else, but then having it implemented is a different ballgame. So we have the design, we put it there. Now, we're going to find discipline to implement.
Dr. Chizie, if you could quickly answer this question, because we have less than a minute, and that is revenue generation. Is it shrinking? I mean, when we look at revenue generation and our debt expanding, what are the optics?
The options would be that maybe in the interim, we have to now grow the debt stock more. That's exactly what you have to do, because you can't print money in the interim. Of course, we've always known that to have this challenge of having to increase our revenue inflow. But there's not much you can do about it. Whether it's coming from taxation or it's coming from the sale of oil. And it's not something that it's not a tap that you can simply just turn on and expect it to begin to flow. So we might have to endure, having to go and borrow a bit more and then hope that at this time we'll find the discipline, make sure that the money we're going to spend it judiciously.
All right, we'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Boniface Cheze. I wish we had more time, and thank all our guests for joining us on the program. That's it. Join the conversation via our social media platforms at Channels TV, at CTV Politics, #Lunchtime Politics. I'm Millicent Walker. I'll see you soon.